Complete destruction of Israel is coming. I'm not kidding. I can see it happening, but not because of Russia's presence or Iran or even Turkey or even any Arab country for that matter. It is going to be coming from an unlikely source that Israel has never ever imagined. Well, what do I mean by this? Let me break it down for you in this video, but before I move on, just to remind you guys, most of my viewers are not subscribed. If you happen to be one of them, consider subscribing. I want to actually show you this map first, and then we'll discuss about this new force in the Middle East in a second. Okay, so this is Konaitra. Okay, this is where Konaitra is, and this is where the Israeli forces are right now, and they're trying to occupy this land. In other words, they have approved, the Israeli Knesset, they have approved an expansion of the settlers in this area, Konaitra. How far it is from Damascus? Not too far. And do Israel have that ambition to capture Damascus, have control over it? 100%. In fact, they want to go deeper into even Saudi Arabia, Yemen, all of these Arab countries, Arab lands, Egypt, Jordan. They want to dominate because of the greater Israeli ambition that Bezalel Smotrich, the Israeli finance minister, has spoken about, and also Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, this is where Israeli forces right now settled, and they are actually using low-flying drones to send a message to these locals in Konaitra, the map I just showed you, urging them to talk to the Israeli representatives, means the Israeli troops, the Israeli negotiators, whatever you want to call them. They are now trying to convince the locals in Syria, in Konaitra in Syria, that look, we are here to help you. We are not here to disturb your peace or the freedom you have, achieved after Assad left. We're not gonna do none of this. You have your land, no problem, but we're here, come and talk to us. And this is how they approach. This is the first step, how they steal others' land. Just like what they did in 1947, 1948, they went to Palestine telling them, hey, we are refugees, we are Jews and people are kicking us out from different countries. Can we stay here for a little bit? And so the Palestinians were like, yeah, come in. And now we see what they're doing with them. This is exactly what they're doing in Syria too at the moment. Now, I want to actually show you this particular video. And remember, this is a Western media mouthpiece, so you will hear things that you don't quite agree. But let's play the video.
The Israeli Knesset has approved plans to increase the number of settlers in the Golan Heights, territory that was seized from Syria in 1967. The announcement...
So this video is, or this reporting is talking about how Israeli Knesset, they have approved this new land grab, stealing land from Syrian people, and what is happening at the moment.
It comes a week after the dramatic downfall of longtime President Bashar al-Assad. The demographic development plan to double settler numbers only applies to the area of the Golan Heights that Israel seized during the Six-Day War and later annexed in 1981.
Okay, so they want to double the population and they want to bring in the settlers. This is where we have to really pause and think about the settlers issues too, because a lot of the time people are so naive. Only they focus on ITF, their aggression, their war crimes and all of those things. And we have seen when they travel to outside countries, for example, their visa get rejected. Yesterday, they were rejected in Australia. When they go to Morocco, they got arrested. In fact, that happened yesterday too. When they travel to different parts of the world, they cannot obviously go to many European countries, including Ireland. They will get arrested and they will be charged. But we have to remember, it is not just ITF, the culprits, the settlers, these terrorists. I would say even they're the bigger culprits. They're much worse than the ITF forces in some aspects. These settlers, so Netanyahu wants to grow the number of the settlers, and he wants to double the growth. The demographic has to be doubled. Why? Because they think that just by increasing the population growth, they can conquer lands. And they can also at the same time use American weapon and money to start war and attacking people, but their focus is really to have these people, the settlers, in those places where Israel wants its territory to be demarcated, if you like, so that nobody can come and claim, well, this was our land. Because when the settlers are there, they start talking about this particular thing where we see them here telling us that this is God's promised land. So when they go to Syria, this is their promised land. When they go to Gaza, this is their promised land. Their chosen people and all of those things, they will spin. Guys, the settlers' issue is much worse. They are the one who is establishing this narrative and maintaining it. And we have to be aware of them too. Now they want to double the population there. How? Well, they will be bringing Africans, they will be bringing Ukrainian Jew, they will be bringing so many other people, and they will train them. In fact, Ben Gvir, the extremist leader, he gave machine gun, AK-47 to locals, those settlers. Take it. It's free. You don't have to be accountable for anything. Just go and kill those Palestinian people in West Bank and elsewhere. This is what they plan.
Currently, an estimated 31,000 Israelis living in settlements considered illegal under international law across the Golan Heights. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised the plan, which comes with 10 million euros in funding. But he also said Israel wasn't seeking a conflict with Syria.
אין לנו עניין להתעמת עם סוריה. אנחנו נקבע את מדיניות ישראל כלפי סוריה לפי המציאות המתהווה בשטח. אני מזכיר שבמשך עשרות שנים סוריה הייתה מדינת אויב.
Okay, I don't want to play his video because it's disgusting to hear this monster talking. But he was basically saying that we will not mess up with Syria. And then the next thing you know, he's grabbing their lands. Like these hypocrites, these liars, they're so shameless that even though the whole world is watching them, they don't really mind. This is the level of shamelessness these people have.
Since rebel groups marched into Damascus and brought an end to al-Assad's 24-year rule, Israel has conducted hundreds of airstrikes across Syria. Officials say those strikes are aimed at destroying weapons dumps to prevent them falling into the hands of terrorists. But they've been criticized by Syria's de facto leader Ahmed al-Sharaa, who said they crossed red lines and risked escalating tensions across the Middle East.
Okay, so Ahmed al-Sharaa, the head of HDS, it looks like to me so far he's just about talk, not action. It could be possible that he will have his government established first, then bring in Turkey to train them militarily, because there is a report now Turkey is interested in training these people with military training. Maybe at one point, I'm pretty sure, in other words, that he has a plan, but right now he's all talk, no action. And I hope that that will change very, very soon. It has to, otherwise his country will be no more. Israel will take piece by piece, beat by beat of every inch of Syria. Now, I want to actually play this video from Naim Qassem, the Hezbollah chief. He made a very interesting point. Now, in the video title, I said that complete destruction of Israel is coming. It is not because, just to make it clear, it is not because of Hezbollah and Syrian rebels merging. It's not because of that. Nevertheless, I want you to take a look at what he's saying here.
نعم، خسر حزب الله في هذه المرحلة طريق الإمداد العسكري عبر سوريا، ولكن هذه الخسارة تفصيل في العمل المقاوم. يمكن نتمنى أيضا أن تعتبر هذه الجهة الحاكمة الجديدة إسرائيل عدوا وأن لا تطبع معها.
In other words, Hezbollah is hoping that these rebel groups in Syria, they will not normalize ties with Israel. I don't think that will happen, especially after watching Israel's behavior, where we see they are attacking Syria every day and they're taking their lands. I don't see that is a possibility. Nevertheless, US is trying to give the carrot to these rebels first by offering them money, taking their label as terrorist organization away from it, and normalizing ties with them, in fact. But at the end of the day, we know that what Israel and US, they really want is complete expansion of the Israeli territories, and US will support Israel any decision they make. So it's really fruitless to wait and see what US will do next, because we already know what they will do, which is help Israel more with their aggressions and all that. Now, I will mention to you about that particular group that has emerged in the at the end of this video, so you don't want to go anywhere. But I want to actually I want you to take a look at this particular reporting at the moment. So as I said in my past videos, that Israel is facing casualties, destruction in Gaza still. Therefore, I'm very confident that Israel will never be able to expand their territories, and their greater Israeli ambition will fall apart. Take a look what is happening at the moment. So on Sunday morning, Al-Quds brigades, the military wing of Islamic Jihad movement, announced that it had struck using mortar shells gatherings of Israeli soldiers and military vehicles infiltrating the vicinity of Al-Janaina neighborhood east of Rafah. And then you also have the brigades had also announced the detonation of 3 pre-implanted devices in the occupation vehicles during their advance a few days ago in Ubaid Street near the Tunis school and near the Martyr Abdul Aziz Al-Rantisi Mosque, both areas located south of the Al-Shejaiya neighborhood in Gaza City. In other words, what we are seeing coming from Gaza is continuous reporting and very consistent at the same time on the casualties and destruction and the losses of Israeli forces. Then we have Al-Quds brigades fighters. They have also confirmed the destruction of an Israeli military vehicle with a pre-planned Taqiv barrel during its incursion into the vicinity of Al-Nada Towers in Izbit Beit Hanun in the northern Gaza Strip. I can tell you guys, if Israel was not given the firepower or the aerial bombardment, the air power, I can bet any day that Israel would have lost this battle, even with a small group like Hamas. Because of those warplanes they have supplied by US and UK and European countries, it is becoming very, very difficult to win against the Zionist state for the most part. But nevertheless, when they go on a ground incursion, invasion, or a battle, one-on-one fight on the street of Gaza, they face real men and they run away a lot of the time. For its part, Al-Qassam Brigade's Hamas military wing said its fighters had managed to snipe an Israeli soldier east of the town of Jabalia in the north of the Gaza Strip. This is coming after it was reported, and I mentioned to you in my previous videos, where we have seen dozens of Israeli soldiers, their vehicles, their military personnel with advanced technology, their engineers who go inside the tunnel are getting completely eliminated in Gaza. So this is just an addition to what casualties we have already reported on the Israeli side. And now they're obviously freaking out over this issue, and that is Ireland. They have made their policies against Israel, and we know these are all fair policy. When you commit genocide, you should not complain about anything. Rather, you should stop committing genocide first. But instead of doing that, Israel is now freaking out, and they're lashing out at Ireland, the Irish government, and saying, we're going to close our embassy. Take a listen.
Israel plans to shut its Dublin embassy, citing Ireland's anti-Israel stance as relations between the two nations further deteriorate. Dublin has called the decision deeply regrettable. Last week, Ireland supported South Africa's genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. In October, Ireland and UNIFIL rejected Israel's call to withdraw peacekeepers from Lebanon, citing Israeli forces' proximity to Irish troops as concerning. And in May, Ireland, alongside Spain and Norway, recognized Palestine as a state, prompting Israel to recall its envoys.
Ireland was so close to have a confrontation with Israel, a lot of us we do not know. In Lebanon, when they were told to get out of the area where Israel was bombing, Ireland said, we are going to keep our troops, and if you try to harm them, we will retaliate. In other words, we almost saw an escalation between Ireland and Israel. In other words, what I'm trying to get you at is this. Ireland is not all about talk. They are about actually more about action. They have recognized the state of Palestine. They have raised their voice many, many times in direct protest. We are seeing protests going on in Ireland every day. And now they are forcing Israel to really shut this embassy and leave and pack and leave. And this is such an humiliation and a huge defeat for the Israeli Zionist propaganda war that they're launching, especially in the West, to brainwash people that somehow these are God's chosen people, only to find out these are the most pathetic people on earth who is grabbing others' land, stealing others' land, and that's how they are living and breathing. I want you to take a look at this particular video from Scott Ritter. He made some very important point about what Russia was doing in Syria and how the Assad regime was actually stopping Iran from confronting Israel from using, obviously by using Syrian airspace and air bases.
And so that took place. The other savior of Syria that people are talking about is Iran. Well, Iran also at the same time said that if you're not going to reform your military, then we need to come up and prop up your military. We need to have a bigger Iranian presence.
So what he's saying is that Iran asked Assad to make your military more advanced, to give your military more money and equipment and modernize it. And Iran said, you need to do this, they said to Assad, because then we can confront Israel better. But of course, Assad rejected that offer.
And the Syrian government said no, and the Russians were also opposed to that because Russia had had an understanding with Israel that it wouldn't allow the Iranians who came in to help reverse the tide of the anti-government forces, push them back, that he wouldn't allow that to turn into a permanent, large-scale military presence in Syria that was focused on, Hezbollah and strengthening the axis of resistance there. That Russia said, no, Syria will not become a springboard for an Iranian-backed aggression against Israel.
Okay, so why is Russia was there if they were not to prevent Israel from destroying more towns and villages and continue this genocide in Gaza? Why Russia was there all this time? It is so unfathomable to me to even comprehend what he was doing, what Putin was doing in Syria. He wanted to just prop up Bashar al-Assad and his regime, and that's about it. Like I don't understand. I think there was a much bigger plan behind the scene that Putin did not share with us. Why I'm saying this is because Russia's military presence is still in Syria. They still have bases, they still have trucks, even though they show they're leaving, but they're still keeping the Mediterranean, the seaport, I believe close to Latakia. They're also keeping their military bases open, the air base open, naval base open elsewhere in Syria. I don't know what the plan is for Putin, but it could be just that he wants to put a leash on Israel in an indirect way, not influencing them directly, but indirectly telling them, and also United States, that, hey, we are breathing on Israel, so you better behave, otherwise they are within our reach. And that could be the main reason. I don't know what is happening, why Russia was there. Now take a look at this particular group, TIP, Turkish Islamic Party. And this is where things get most dangerous. And this is why I said that the destruction of Israel could be coming very, very soon. So what does this video say? This is coming on the Telegraph News, and they posted this video on YouTube. I believe their story about this group of is called actually not Turkish, Turkestan Islamic Party, TIP, Turkestan Islamic Party. Now this party is from, it was originated because of what happened with the Muslims, Uyghur Muslims in China. Now they are in Syria, and they are now helping to defeat Assad forces or other forces in Syria. Their aim right now, after defeating all of these groups within Syria and helping the Syrian government to establish itself as a military power, they are now saying we're going to be marched towards China. And this is why I don't like this tone, because you should be marching towards Israel. But nevertheless, don't go anywhere. These groups, they will also come after Israel after they see Israel is grabbing more and more of their lands. Syria has become a hotbed for all of these groups and countries to come together, and Israel cannot deal with all of this. You have Russia, you have HEZBOLLAH. Naim Qassem, he expressed his interest in reconciliation with the Syrian rebels. If that happens, they will become ever more powerful. Then you have Turkish forces. Turkey's Erdogan is going to be training this military, and the Syrian military could become very, very strong, and Turkey will provide them also with drones and technologies. Then you also have this kind of groups, TIP, rising up and threatening countries like China. China is a big deal, but they're nevertheless so fearless that they say, we will target you and we will liberate Uyghur Muslims from you. Don't you think they can also do the same thing with Israel? Of course they can. So Israel, don't go anywhere. The game is not over, guys. Whoever think that Israel has monopoly over this situation, you are mistaken. You are completely wrong, because things are just started to getting heated up for Israel, and it will be so hot that they cannot handle. I can promise you that. This is going to be the end of Israel. What we have seen when Assad was overthrown was just the tip of the iceberg. What is going to be happening now and in the future, you will see that Israel and their dominance will be over very, very soon. Take a listen.
TIP was founded in the 1990s with a footprint in Afghanistan and Pakistan. For the last decade, they've been based in Syria. Their field commander, Abu Muhammad, also known as Zahid. Years ago, TIP members escaped from China, where they faced severe oppression and human rights abuses. Often they fled with their families. Since then, they've set up villages and training camps in Syria, made inroads with militant groups like Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which led the recent offensive, and built a vast...
Okay, so a very important point. They merged with HTS in Syria, and they have built a huge military base there, which is now operating in Syria.
Fighting force. After Syria, now China. TIP has always been clear. The end goal? Independence. To liberate their homeland of East Turkestan from the Chinese occupiers.
Okay, so again, we will just have to wait and see what TIP and other groups they do. Don't forget about those militias that Iran supported in Syria and also in Iraq. They're also there. When you see Israel is taking over lands and they're bombing and they're victorious one person on 5 Pillar, there is this channel on Facebook, and he mentioned that Israel is reigning in Middle East. Maybe for now, but in the future, not at all. At least that's what I believe will happen, that all of these groups will come together eventually and to realize that our main threat, as Naim Qassem said, our main enemy, our number one enemy is the Zionist state, who is taking up lands and stealing others' properties and killing people in the process. I have some comments here. Thank you so much for that.